All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Coach Shawn Witten Show. I'm Stacy Street along with my partner Tony Briggs. Tonight we're going to talk with Coach Witten about the big homecoming victory last week as the Cyclones take down the Sullivan East Patriots to get back on the winning track. And then later in the interview, we're going to talk about the long road trip the Cyclones have as we travel downstate to Ray County. First of all, Coach Witten, big atmosphere, big crowd here, beautiful weather. Tell us about what your assessment is of the Cyclones game Friday night against Sullivan East.
Well, it's really good to reward all of our kids the opportunity to get in some on Friday night. It was great to be back home at homecoming and played a really good Sullivan East team. Really challenged us throwing the ball, some different things, but just really good to get back out there, get a good win, and see our guys continue to play the way we need to play.
You know, and this is not the old Sullivan East team. Those kids were long and lean. Quarterback was the real deal. At number one, he was a stud they had. Who was catching the ball and running.
Well, they've done a good job in the last couple of years of tweaking their schemes. They've kind of playing a different style of football that's competitive. They're scoring some points, and it's kind of getting more kids out for football maybe in that essence. Tough with the numbers, playing offense and defense. Sometimes they got some skill kids you talked about. Maybe missed some linemen in there, but J.C. Simmons doing a great job over there. It's good to see those guys. Have better years and make our conference a little bit better.
And to talk about that, we started getting a little antsy up there sometimes. So about the fourth quarter, when they put up about 25 points, I asked Tony on the air, I said, how many points are they averaging per game? And I forget what you said, 35? 30, 35, something like that. So, and then also what you just talked about, when the game started, I looked on the sidelines, and I think we may have been off the air. I said, Tony, look, they didn't have 30 kids on the sideline. So to play as good as they did, that was a real deal, wasn't it?
Well, it's good to, we got up 35-0. We probably put some guys in. We knew that we were going to get running clock. And, we just wanted to reward guys that have been working really hard through the course of the year. Later in the year when we get to this point, Stacy, it just gets tough. You got to keep momentum high, keep it rolling. As we get in some difficulties towards the end of the year of teams we're facing from what we're going to see offensively, it just becomes tough to get some guys in. So homecoming night means a lot of things to a lot of people, but it was a great opportunity to get a lot of guys in. I mean, we had them going in everywhere. So, and we just tried to spread the ball around. We tried to do some different things. We wanted to continue to run the ball, get Nate involved. We still tried to spread the ball around. Wanted to continue to get Teddy down the field on some deep balls. And, we tried to some different wriggles at time, and we ran a jet sweep to dry. We still ran the shallow crosser to dry. We tried to run a couple of Utah shovel passes to Cade, and then, we also tried to run a screen pass to Nate. We tried to do some different things to, put some stuff on film, and that way we can evaluate where our offense can kind of continue to push it in a good direction.
And one more, and I'll pass it on to Tony. Talk about getting comfortable, and you want to do that. Dalton Mitchell continues to grow in that quarterback position, and it seems like that Cade and Nate are kind of settling into their roles too. Is that what you're seeing also? It
is. I think there's one play that stands out in my mind against Sullivan East was we ran a tight end vertical, and then Teddy on an out route on our sideline. They brought the outside backer on a blitz and kind of came untouched free, and Dalton was still able to get that throw off. Just brought him to the sadeline. Hey, did you see that linebacker? He said, hey, I saw him. So we're seeing things different than we maybe were early in the year. And, our linemen are doing a better job with pass protections. We've tweaked those and worked them a little bit, So, it's still a growing process. Confidence, being able to run the ball and throw it when we need to, high percentage throws, knowing where we need to go with the football. Our preparation through the course of the week, we're still getting a lot of blocking and tackling and fundamentals and techniques, but, it's become – we're repping about one play 15, 20 times during the course of the week to make sure we get it right on Fridays.
Before we get too much further, knowing you, first, congratulations on your 150th win. That's an accomplishment. You've had a lot of great teams around you, which helped. So congratulations on that first and foremost. Now, looking back, what you talked about a little bit on that, talking about getting more comfortable. Now that you've got Whitaker, you moved him back to the interior line. How much does that play into the role that you got a 6-man rotation now within your line?
Well, I think it's, what's happened a lot of times is when we started the season, it's easy to go with where guys have been comfortable. It's easy to go where, guys have played a lot of reps there. And when you get guys on the field, guys are always better when you're rotating in. To keep them fresh, to get them maybe off a series and then they can go back on. I mean, I think when you leave guys out there for the whole period of time, you start to kind of fade. When you get tired, fatigued, you have mental errors, you have mistakes. We've tried to build a rotation to where Whitaker gets a series at guard, then he gets a series at left guard, then he may get a series at tackle. So having that rotation, getting McDuffie some time, it gives guys a break where you can make corrections, you can keep guys fresh, and then it settles Justice in as a tight end. We tried to work Cade and move Baker around a little bit. We've settled guys into outside receivers, slot receivers. So, I think we had one mistake Friday where, Teddy thought he was the jet motion guy. I mean, he just goes back to practice. You haven't ran the jet all week in practice, then why do you become the jet guy on Friday? So we just tried to eliminate a ton of mistakes where we had early in the year, just false starts, mental errors, misalignments, miscues. We've just tried to eliminate all that early, and it's helped us here lately.
And you can go back and look at the penalties. Penalties against Southern East was way down, especially the 15-yard unnecessary penalties that, for whatever reason they come way down. And you're harped on this show, you've said over and over and over, we've got to find different ways to score.
Yeah, we do. I mean, even field position becomes key. Those first couple games early. I mean, we weren't even crossing the 50. We're having to go 80 yards to score every time. You just can't sustain that without making mistakes. So, I mean, we are. I mean, I think that with our running backs can catch the ball in the backfield. Now we've got Justice, who's an athletic tight end, where Whitaker was a non-factor in the H-back tight end game. Now we found somebody that, with Dry and Baker, that we can get weapons across the middle field, and we've still got guys on the outside. We're working. Luke is a guy that's playing a lot of the receiver positions. Just where he's been out, he's been just finding in where he can plug in there. And then we tried to do a good job of just keeping Cade and Nate fresh. Early in the year, they talked about on the show several times, it's just when they're playing safety and corner, how do you balance where the big plays come from? So just getting guys breaks when you can, helps us offensively, and it's shown quite a bit. The other area is we've been able to get Dalton off of defense at times, and that's been able to communication. When you're playing offense and defense, there's no offense of communication of what we've got to do to get better in the next couple of series. So just those small details things, a lot of people don't understand, but it goes a long way in execution on Friday night, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Now let's flip over to your defensive side. You finally got that pick six, that defensive score you got. It looks like you've settled into having Eli as an outside backer and leaving Holzer on the inside. You got a pretty good little rotation with Luke coming in and out. You got 3 safeties you can put in there. How do you feel about this defensive rotation going forward?
Well, it's tough to say. It kind of depends on what you go against each week. We last couple of weeks, going against spread teams, we've kind of built a lot of continuity. So, Eli Williams got another great interception. Defensive line gets a chance to work on pass rush at times. We've worked better on pass drops, blitzing, inside and outside blitzing. We've never been a huge blitzing team, so picking those things up where it's a fire zone blitz or it's a zone blitz, moving our safeties around a little bit, and seeing if we can experiment with doing things different. Can we play a little bit of 2-man? Can we play with some straight up cover man, without having to stay completely zoned the entire game. So, we're just seeing what we're good at, guys like Eli Williams and get us some athleticism on the outside, but, even moving Shankles and Holzer to the inside, you still have good athleticism there. So, it's tough to say, what you go against each and every week, but, we're not a big defensive team by no means with the size that we've had in the past, but we are athletic, we are playing better effort, and we tried to do a great job of just minimizing the big plays.
And the last question before you take a break. We noticed a couple of times last week you actually went to a man. You actually went to a man coverage. Seen, I think it was Zed out on the wheel route covered. How do you feel? I know that's not one of your fortes, but how do you feel that prepares us going down the road?
Well, I mean, I think, Coach Turner and Coach Grindstaff have done a really good job. Coach Tink has done a good job taking time to work with guys to see what kind of man-to-man we can build on, especially for, down in the future when you play spread teams. I mean, it's just hard to continue to hold up playing zone a lot of times. When you start bringing pressure, you have to play some man at times. But, guys like Nate Teddy, Luke Whaley, give us a dimension. Seth as an outside linebacker, give us dimension to play some man at some times. And, so we've worked it. We've stressed some areas where we want to try to get better. Last week you showed us, you've seen us kind of walk up some linebackers like, we're all standing up there and like we call it an up call, and they're kind of bailing out there right before the snap calls, or they can, we'll blitz this side, drop this side. So, there's times we missed, where we were supposed to get to last week, but, it's something we can build off of once we get it on film.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we'll do for homecoming recap. When we come back after these words, we'll preview the long trek, the business trip tonight as we head down to Ray County to take on the 5A Ray County. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here. Coach, got a long trip ahead of us tonight. Got a business trip. Ray County is coming in completely different offense that we've not seen all year long. You're going to see Army style, Navy style, old-fashioned style football.
Well, first off, it's a really good team. It's a big school. I mean, people forget, Ray County is it's the only school in the county. It's a big school, and they are coached by a good coaching staff. They've had multiple head coaches. They got coaches that won the state championship. These coaches kind of come all from the same background. They're all wing T running coaches, and so not on top of that, they also play a 3-3 stack, a 3-5 on defense, so they provide a lot of difficulties, going into this game. Last year was different for us, for them coming here, a different opponent, but obviously going there tonight, provides a lot of challenges. Just one, you got to maximize every offensive possession you're going to get. Two, we talk about discipline and accountability all the time, but that's going to be at a premium. Short yardage, down and distance, getting off the field, being sound, play your assignment, so, tackling, blocking become all the small things that you overlook a lot of times become key today. And then just where our mental preparation is going to be, how good can we be when we get off the bus from taking a 3-hour trip, So I think we saw last year when we played them, it kind of affected them a little bit, when we had about a 30 to 45 minute rain delay. It even made it kind of worse a little bit. They got off to a slow start. So just got to have great execution on both sides in all areas. And, guys got to really come to play tonight.
And, going into last year, if I remember correctly, like 10 minutes in the third quarter, they had the ball almost the whole entire third quarter, just hitting methodically, driving down the field. So possessions are going to be at a premium coming in tonight.
Well, they are. I mean, you think about their schedule, too. I mean, it's a 5A schedule of Walker Valley, Anderson County, where they had Anderson County beat. They ended up coming back and beating them just like they did us. Alcoa at the beginning of the year. Ottawa is a big school. So just a number of good teams. Red Bank, who's an undefeated 4A team, in Region 3. So, I mean, they played a tough schedule, a lot like us. I mean, they're in a 5-man region, which, provides difficulty finding games. And then a lot of people on the outside end don't want to play them just because of what they do offensively. So it becomes tough preparation. How good can you prepare for what they do on, basically 3.5 days? And then how can you simulate it in practice? And so just getting that done is a job itself, So luckily we've had a lot of tape to look at. We go back to last year and teach it. You just got to slow it down and build off of it. Thankfully for us, our coaching staff has had a lot of history with playing the wing T. You know, it's similar to some of the things that we, a big rival we had in Sullivan North in different ways with, Robbie Norris and those guys used to run it. So, you just bring a lot of film back out and go back to the drawing board on the best ways to try to prepare and stop it.
Final question before I hand it to Stacy. Their quarterback makes them go. As good as Martinez was standing in the pocket throwing the ball, quarterback coming in tonight is very lethal with his feet, and also he can throw it.
Well, that becomes where the wing T becomes dangerous, is when you get guys that are really athletic at the quarterback position, and then you get great skill guys in behind there where you're pulling guards, pulling tackles, misdirections. Then on top of that, you got a cue. A lot of times in the wing T, especially up here, quarterbacks don't touch the ball up here. They just hand it off. But down there, you talking about a kid that runs a 4-4, that plays defense and offense, is dynamic, So, you got a tough thing. He can bootleg it out the back door at any time. When he does try to throw it, if you do get it covered, now the big plays come from his scramble ability. So he's tough by far. I mean, the kid's just a junior, I think, too. So, I mean, he's a tough kid, a tough player, super athletic. If you take him out of that offense, they're a different offense. Right. You put a kid like him in there, becomes a tough wing T to stop.
Let's pick up on that. You talked about looking at the tape, so we've seen the tape. You've seen those old reels of those old wing T teams where they're in the huddle and all of a sudden they run up to the line and get down. That's what this looks like for our listeners that are not going to be able to be there. They run up to the line. What I've noticed, though, is just what you all were just talking about. It's not the old Sullivan East try to do or the Sullivan North. They run reverses out of this. They run bootlegs. They lull you, and then he'll stand up and throw it. How do you? And usually by this time in the year, the Cyclones have faced somebody that runs some form. I think a couple of years ago we faced like 3 teams, and the Boone tried to run that for a while before they opened it up. How do you go from 6 weeks of spread and the 3-man rush to coming into facing something like this?
Well, the hardest part, Stacy especially, is sometimes it takes you a series or two to kind of figure it out. The speed of it, the blocking schemes, but that can become tough because they can get on you in a heartbeat. It kind of goes back to the old, they're going to run inside, outside. They're going to mix it up, go back and forth. Old Notre Dame speaks, but I mean they do so much, but at all, wing T team, principles always starts with a fullback. They've got a really great fullback, which you talk about fullback traps, you talk about all set fullbacks, you talk about fullback counters, and then on top of those things is just, you get every play, your safeties and stuff, they want to get closer and closer to the line of scrimmage, and then boom, they get right behind you. So I think the best thing we've tried to do is just slow it down and take it, day by day and pieces by pieces to work on, the option responsibilities to the dive responsibilities. It kind of goes back to day one football of making sure you're all grounded. And, how do you want to approach it? You watch on film and you watch Anderson County play against them and they're doing one thing. Then you watch another team play them, they're doing another thing. So you got to pick out, all right, what do we want to do? How do we want to attack it? How do we want to try to stop it? So I think most coaches also, too, if they're like me, well, you got to have more than one way to try to stop it, because if plan A don't work, you got to throw it out quick and you got to go to plan B, and be ready to go with that.
And like you said, it used to, when a long time ago when we would play against a wing T, it's fullback dive, crossbuck trap, and occasionally a pitch out of it. This does so much, and Cyclones have had really good success the last couple of weeks with that 3-man line. You're going to stick with that, or you're going to bring another one of those hosses down and put another hand on the ground?
Tonight's one of those nights where we wish we had Mason Ball back for one. We missed the size there, but we've seen an athletic redneck team play against them pretty good. The difference is sometimes how they're going to kind of attack us. Do they stay double tight? Do they go to the old school Paul Johnson, where they go to the Georgia Tech, where they get the receivers in? So you got to kind of counter with that. And then on top, like Tony said, then you got an athletic quarterback in there. They can mix in some of those. So I mean, I definitely think, we got to put some extra linemen there at times. Guys like Brad and Ben Adams and Levi Guess and Xavier and Landon Hughes. I mean, they become some defensive linemen. Even a Kodak becomes an interior lineman that you got to keep them off there. I mean, just where you got to be so sound is it all starts in the trenches. Those guys are going to get on you. They're going to cut you. They're going to trap you. It's just all about being super disciplined. So, just really fortunate. We got, Coach Harrison and Coach Campbell have worked really hard on it. We've used Coach Grindstaff and Coach Turner as the quarterback and scout teams. We all hear these stories on Saturdays of, great college quarterbacks. They serve the opposing team's quarterback. Thankfully, we've had some good scout team quarterback work this week by our coaches, and it's really tough to simulate in practice. That becomes the hardest thing, and so. You you can't let your eyes wander. They got to stay focused on where the reads and their keys can take them.
And it all starts when they come out of that huddle.
Yeah.
They have these long, sustained drives, but once they get there, it's all on quickness. The linemen get on you quick. The movements are quick. The traps are short traps, and so.
When you think about it, Stacey, you think about 4 plays to get 10 yards, and that offense is tough. I mean, it just becomes like. They're going to get first downs. They're going to keep the ball wild. We just somewhere along the line it just becomes that old school bend but don't break mentality. And it's some midfield somewhere we got to try to get a stop. We got to get the ball behind. Tackle for loss, or if they try to throw it, we got to get them into second 10 real quick, and then all of a sudden we get a chance to have there. But you talk about they're going to try to get you jump off sides. Defense, and then they're going to do things with their motions and formations and get you outflanked or get you lined up wrong, and then here they go, for a long break. So, just been it's a tough week. There's no doubt about it. And then, like you said, their coaches are as good as it gets. They've got former head coaches that their livelihood has been, wing T offense, triple option. A lot of this in their coaching history.
Let's flip to the other side of the ball as we do here. They run that 3-3 some. They stack. They kind of flood it depending on who they're playing. We saw them do a little bit different wrinkles against an Anderson County team, against another team. What do you expect to see from them if you come out and what you've put on film? What defense do you expect to see them come out?
Well, I think I just think they do some. It's tough, It's not like anything we go against.
It's really
just,
weird.
A lot of their whole schemes, are just tough. It's not so much what they do offensively; they're just as tough on defense. And then, everybody knows even the style of defense you run is like when you play against them, you spend so much time on defense that really your best defense becomes your offense. You got to execute. You can't stop the clock by passing the ball a lot. You got to be able to try to run the football. You got to mix some formations in there at times. But if you get behind, you start pressing. If you get up, you can't let off the gas. Like we mentioned, they had the ball the whole third quarter, and it's just every play. It just comes back down to execution. Execution's got to be. High thing that we've got to do. We've got to be crisp throwing the ball, but just penalties. I told the guys today, first thing I told them today, this week was if we end the offensive possession on a punt, it's good. It's okay. But as long as it ain't a turnover, and as long as it ain't back up or something, if we can end the possession on a punt and push it back there, just somewhere along the line when you play teams like that, so many times play callers, you know what they're going to do. So, you keep pushing your foot on the gas. You try to take a shot. You try to get up, and you got to stay the course to your game plan.
Well, and the last comment will be, your offense is your best defense, because if you get up on this group, they're not built to score quickly, and you don't want to be chasing points against this team either.
Well, I felt like last year we got up on them, but. Then when they had the ball the whole third quarter, next thing you know, we
remember it.
We got a drive to where, it becomes a one possession game.
Exactly.
And so there's just a lot of it. It reminds me of a game. We went to Nolensville, a couple of years ago. Just you're almost going to the different time zone.
Yeah.
It just becomes a 2-hour trip versus 3-hour trip. So it's a one extra stop. It just it's a different battle all the way from a mentality. So we're going to find a lot about ourselves today. I am super proud of how we worked and prepared this week. All of our guys, Coach Pearson, Coach Matt Campbell have done a great job of trying to service our groups, and credit to our coaches, and our guys have really tried to. Extra film studies been key this week, and we've kind of practiced a little bit longer, try to stay a little bit longer, and then we've tried to start, instead of going right to the practice field, we try to come watch film first so they can see it and then go do it. That's try to help us some there. Just get 15, 20 minutes of seeing it before you go out there. And so just, it becomes tough. Sometimes at this point in time of the year, it's hard to put physical every day, but you talk about physicality on the defensive lineman. I mean, nothing's going to be more physical than this tonight. So tough challenge all the way through. Hopefully we need a big win, and we need to keep this momentum going. And so this is our last kind of big challenge before, we hit the playoffs. And so, we've asked the guys to be all in this week, and they've done a good job with that. So hopefully we can finish it tonight.
Coach, as always.
I got one follow-up question. How crucial is this game tonight?
I kind of told our coaches a little bit for us. I mean, you're talking about, the two really good football teams have gotten off to, the records are not an indication of how good we are, how good they are. I mean, you're talking about a team that had Anderson County beat by 2 scores. You're talking about a team that opens up with Alcoa. You're talking about a team that played the rival last week to Walker Valley really, really tight. So, I mean, things could go the course of their way. You're talking about a team that got beat to Red Bank. Red Bank returned the kickoff for a touchdown on the last. They kicked the field goal to go up. And Red Bank returns a miracle kickoff return to lose there. So they've had a lot of close games. They've been battle tested, but I told our coaches, I think this is a huge, in any facet. If we come out with a win tonight, it's kudos. We told the guys too that I don't care what you've done to this point, how you've gotten here to this point. Like, it needs to be an all-in type of week. I mean, that's just, we can't leave. We got to go after this thing tonight, and it's going to be a huge win for us.
All right, that's the last word from Coach Witten. Coach Witten, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, Tony and I will then have our preview of this big game as the Cyclones load the bus, and for about a 3-hour and 15-minute trip, going fast in a car, not in a bus, 3-hour and 15-minute trip down Chattanooga way to face Ray County. Tony and I will be back with our preview, and then at 7:30 we'll have kickoff from Ray County as your Cyclones travel to battle the 5A school. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.